This is just the beginning. To uncover more of humanity's journey in the stars, subscribe and join us for the next thrilling chapter. Before a cliffhanger, right at a pivotal moment in the story, you can tease the next episode with a hint for viewers to subscribe. Captured aboard an alien vessel, the children sat together, facing the oddest situation they had ever encountered. Around them, everything gleamed with an eerie, sterile glow, as if even the air had been scrubbed of its warmth. The alien commander, observing them, looked puzzled, almost irritated by the unexpected calm of his captives. These humans, especially these young ones, were supposed to be terrified, weren't they? He'd heard tales of their fears, their primitive ways, their inability to grasp the complexities of alien life. Yet here they were, defying his every expectation. The oldest, a boy barely in his teens, appeared almost as if he were holding back a smirk, defiance shimmering in his eyes. The commander's sleek, angular form loomed closer, his voice laced with confusion as he addressed them. "Do you not realize the peril you're in? Humans, you're known for your survival instincts, yet you show none of the fear I expected." The children exchanged glances, a silent understanding passing between them. They had been prepared for fear, certainly, but they had also been prepared for much worse. They had heard countless stories of resilience, stories from family members who had faced adversities far more daunting. It was not in their nature to cower. A girl with fiery red hair and freckles raised an eyebrow, her voice steady and unwavering. "Peril?" she asked, feigning innocence. "We're not afraid of the dark, nor of strange faces. You think this," she gestured around at the sterile alien environment, "is supposed to scare us?" The commander shifted, the confidence he wore so easily now fraying at the edges. He tried another approach, questioning their origins, their culture, as if hoping that a chink in their confidence would reveal itself. But his questions went unanswered. The children had already come to an unspoken agreement. Silence was their weapon, defiance their shield. If they could frustrate their captor, maybe they could force a mistake, find a flaw in the system around them. Each child in the group seemed remarkably calm, a far cry from the terrified reactions the commander had anticipated. Their demeanor rattled him, stirring an unfamiliar sensation. For the first time, he considered that these humans might be more than mere captives. Perhaps they were a challenge, a riddle he hadn't expected to solve. He glanced at one of his assistants, a technician who had also been observing the children with a perplexed frown. It was evident that the humans' reactions were outside any standard protocol, and protocol was what the aliens held in the highest regard. Meanwhile, the boy at the forefront of the group continued to maintain eye contact with the commander, his steady gaze unwavering. His posture alone seemed to convey a message, one that hinted at an inner strength and resolve that the alien had never encountered in a species so young. The boy's quiet confidence sent a ripple of discomfort through the alien crew, who had been silently monitoring the interaction from their stations. Finally, the commander broke the silence, an edge of frustration sharpening his voice. "What makes you so certain, so fearless?" he demanded, his words filled with a strange mixture of curiosity and irritation. But again, he was met with a blank expression, one that betrayed nothing but a faint hint of amusement. The human silence was not ignorance, it was strategy, and this understanding unsettled him further. As he continued his fruitless attempts to interrogate the children, a realization began to take shape, slow and reluctant. They were not merely humans, they were human children. They were not adults, not soldiers, yet they exhibited a bravery that belied their age. It was a trait the alien commander could not comprehend, let alone admire, though he found himself feeling both. In a final attempt to provoke them, the commander leaned forward, his face mere inches away from the boys. "You may think yourselves brave," he hissed, "but bravery cannot save you. It only serves to delay the inevitable." But his words fell flat, carrying none of the intended fear. The boy merely tilted his head, a small smile forming on his lips, a silent response that seemed to speak volumes. "We've faced worse," the boy finally said, breaking the silence with a voice steady as stone. His words were simple, yet they carried an unspoken history, one that hinted at struggles endured, challenges overcome. To the alien commander, It was unfathomable how humans, particularly these young ones, could possess such resilience. The notion contradicted everything he had been taught, everything his people believed about human nature. One of the younger children, a girl with wide, intelligent eyes, observed the alien with a calm curiosity, as though he were the one under scrutiny. She finally spoke, her voice carrying the innocence of a child yet underlined with a wisdom that made the commander uneasy. "You don't understand us," she said simply. "You think fear is our weakness, but it's not. Fear is only a part of being human. It doesn't control us." The alien commander found himself at a loss, his usual confidence stripped away by the words of these captives, words that resonated with a truth he had never before considered. He felt a sliver of doubt worming its way into his mind, a quiet voice questioning the arrogance of his assumptions about humans. These were children, no, warriors in their own right, armed not with weapons but with a courage that defied logic, defied the very foundation of his beliefs. Silence settled once more, thick and heavy, as the commander struggled to maintain his composure, the realization gnawing at him. This wasn't a battle he was prepared for, this wasn't a fear he could understand. He had captured humans, yes, but he had underestimated them in every possible way. And now, he was beginning to understand the full weight of his mistake. In a final act of defiance, the boy folded his arms, his gaze unwavering, his voice calm and unshaken. "You think capturing us makes you powerful, but it only reveals how little you know about humanity. We don't fear what you want us to fear. We understand each other, and that's more powerful than any force you can control." Those words hung in the air, reverberating through the sterile chamber, lingering long after they had been spoken. The commander, for the first time, felt something unfamiliar, respect, perhaps, or fear, he could not tell. But he knew, with a certainty that unsettled him, that he had witnessed something extraordinary. These children were more than mere prisoners. They were a reminder, a testament to the indomitable spirit of a species that, despite its fragility, could not be broken by fear or control. As he retreated, leaving the humans alone in their cell, the commander could not shake the feeling that he had encountered a force far beyond his understanding. These young humans, in their silence and resilience, had exposed a weakness in him and his kind, a vulnerability that lay not in their technology or strategy but in their fundamental misjudgment of what it truly meant to be human. The children sat together, exchanging subtle looks, each glance conveying more than words could. They had a plan, though not a single one had voiced it aloud. They were young, but each one knew the risks and stakes involved. The oldest, a boy with a natural air of leadership, took a quiet survey of their surroundings. The alien ship, with its cold metallic walls and sharp, uninviting surfaces, was utterly foreign, yet somehow, it felt conquerable. Not in brute force, but in the unspoken understanding they shared. They weren't here to fight, they were here to survive, and their calm resilience unsettled their captors more than any weapon might. He tapped his foot 3 times in a rhythm, a signal only his group would recognize. With that, the younger children shifted, subtly positioning themselves near the various fixtures in their holding area. Each child had their role to play, a task that would contribute to their escape. In whispers and half-smiles, the boy reminded each of them of the small, yet crucial lessons they had learned from their families, from parents and siblings who had drilled into them the importance of remaining calm under pressure, of thinking quickly in strange environments. They were prepared to act not out of fear, but with a purpose that was clear in each of their minds. They knew that the alien ship was advanced, more advanced than anything they'd seen back on Earth. Still, it seemed built on rigid, calculated patterns, the kind that could be studied, predicted. Their surroundings lacked the organic complexity of human design, the way things on Earth had layers and textures, subtle hints of imperfection. Here, everything was precise, sterile, perfectly ordered. And therein lay the weakness. Humans understood imperfection, had adapted to chaos, and knew how to find paths within paths, options where others saw only limitations. The children had learned this without even realizing it. It was second nature, embedded in them through every scraped knee and unexpected challenge they had faced growing up. The alien commander watched them from a distance, noting with irritation their movements, their quiet exchanges. These were young humans, yet they displayed none of the expected signs of helplessness or panic. His assistants were equally perplexed. They observed how the humans seemed to adapt, how their attention latched on to details most species would overlook, the way the lighting flickered at intervals, the slight shift in temperature near one corner, the quiet hum of machinery somewhere far down the hall. The children were memorizing the sounds, the patterns, even the slightest irregularities. It was as if they could feel the ship's inner workings, attuning themselves to it, and the aliens could only watch in confusion as these young captives defied every protocol and expectation. One of the children, a girl with an analytical mind, took the lead in interpreting the signals around them. She knew the risk involved in even a single misstep, but with steady resolve, she whispered brief instructions to the others, directing them to take note of the ventilation shafts, the hinges on the doors, the angles of the cameras and the corners. To her, each element was a puzzle, a piece that could be fit into a larger picture. Her gaze was calculating, her movements careful and deliberate, each step a testament to her quiet determination to overcome. As time passed, they synchronized their actions, each child moving in tandem with the others as if they had rehearsed this. They communicated without words, relying on glances, nods, and signals, silent, efficient. The alien commander grew increasingly restless, sensing a pattern but unable to decipher its meaning. How could humans, particularly these young ones, be this composed, this strategic? They weren't warriors, nor soldiers, yet they possessed a discipline that rivaled his most trained officers. The commander was accustomed to his enemies breaking under pressure, but these humans didn't break. They seemed to thrive, to find a strange clarity in the chaos. One of the younger children, a boy with a keen sense of hearing, picked up on a series of clicks and beeps from down the corridor. He knew from a barely noticeable glance with the leader that this might be the sound of doors unlocking, possibly a shift change or maintenance cycle. The children had an innate sense for timing, able to pick up on subtle cues and rhythms that others might miss. They knew that timing was crucial, that each second counted, and that every small decision could bring them closer to freedom or seal their fate. At one point, the alien commander approached, eyes narrowed, his presence towering and menacing. "Do you not understand the gravity of your situation?" he questioned, voice thick with impatience. "Your resistance is futile." But the children merely glanced at him, expressions calm, unfazed by the intimidation. The oldest boy spoke for the group, his voice firm, though quiet. "Understanding is a two-way street," he replied, a hint of challenge in his tone. "Maybe you don't understand us, or what we're capable of." The commander recoiled, caught off guard by the audacity, the implication that he, with all his knowledge and power, might be missing something vital. He glanced at his assistants, whose discomfort mirrored his own. These humans, these children, were not behaving according to plan, and in their deviation lay a truth he was beginning to fear, that perhaps he had underestimated them on a fundamental level. As he retreated, the children resumed their silent work, noting each detail with a diligence that bordered on the supernatural. They were driven by a shared instinct, an understanding that went beyond words or even conscious thought. Each small movement, each calculated shift, brought them one step closer to escape. And as the ship continued its quiet journey through the void, the children's confidence grew, fueled by the knowledge that they had already achieved the impossible. They had made the aliens doubt, hesitate, question. The commander, now observing them from behind a secure barrier, began to understand the gravity of his error. These children were not just captives. They were survivors, resilient in ways he could barely fathom. They operated with a unity, a strength that defied logic, and he felt the stirrings of a strange unease. For all his power, for all the technological superiority of his kind, he felt something he had never felt before in the presence of prisoners: fear. The time had come. Everything the children had meticulously observed was about to pay off, and each one felt the rush of adrenaline, tempered by a steady focus. They had spent hours memorizing the sounds, noting the intervals when the hum of machinery paused, the flickering of lights, the faint clicking of doors unlocking somewhere distant. These signs now played in their minds like a carefully rehearsed symphony. All of it was preparation, and they knew they had to act with precision. The quiet exchanges and subtle signals among them had woven a plan that was both simple and brilliant, honed by the same instincts that the aliens had so thoroughly underestimated. One of the children, a wiry boy with quick hands and a mind for puzzles, took the lead, his fingers deftly feeling for a hidden latch under a loose panel they had discovered. His movements were deliberate, his breaths even, as if every action had been pre-planned to fit perfectly into this moment. His eyes locked with the others in silent reassurance. The entire group shared the same unyielding focus, a unity born not of fear, but of a shared determination that nothing, not even the advanced alien technology around them, could break. With a quiet snap, the latch came loose, revealing a narrow duct. This was their exit route, a path they had worked out down to each silent step. They moved with an eerie calm, each child understanding their role in this escape. The oldest child took up the rear, watching over the others with an intensity that spoke volumes about the sense of responsibility he felt. He had no words of reassurance. He didn't need them. Each child knew what was at stake and shared a singular focus: to escape. Their faces, illuminated faintly by the low, sterile light of the ducts, bore expressions of unwavering resolve. They understood the gravity of their actions, yet there was no hesitation, only an unstoppable drive that propelled them forward, inch by silent inch. The alien commander, reviewing security footage from his control room, began to notice something strange. Where he had expected to see fear and chaos, there was only the rhythmic, organized movement of children working together with astonishing precision. They didn't scatter, didn't panic. They moved as if they were one organism, each child contributing seamlessly to the whole. His eyes narrowed, a flicker of realization dawning upon him. Humans, he had thought, were frail beings, creatures of emotion easily fractured under pressure. Yet here they were, unbroken and unbending, transforming what he had assumed to be their weakness into a formidable strength. The commander's mind raced, piecing together what this meant, each thought drawing him closer to a truth he found deeply unsettling. Unaware of the commander's growing awareness, the children pressed forward, undeterred. At one point, a girl with a knack for timing carefully counted the seconds, waiting for the precise moment to signal the others to move past the checkpoint. Her heart pounded, but she knew hesitation wasn't an option. With a small nod, she led the group through a gap in the patrol schedule they had observed, maneuvering with the skill of seasoned operatives rather than schoolchildren. They moved with an efficiency that belied their age, slipping through the ship's defenses like whispers, exploiting every weakness they had so diligently memorized. The commander's suspicions solidified as he watched them evade one of his most secure checkpoints. His disbelief transformed into a mix of respect and anxiety. These children weren't just escaping, they were doing it with a mastery that should have been impossible. He turned to his second-in-command, issuing rapid orders to intercept them, his voice tinged with a note of urgency rarely heard among his kind. It was as if he now sensed, with growing certainty, that these young humans might actually succeed. The prospect filled him with an unfamiliar fear, a realization that he had never encountered a threat quite like this, a threat born from resilience, unity, and sheer will. The children, now reaching the final section of the ship, faced one last obstacle, a heavily guarded exit that led to the hangar. They knew there would be no way to avoid detection here, no subtle maneuver that could bypass the alien guards waiting just beyond. But they had expected this, had anticipated the need for a final push. The oldest boy, sensing the weight of the moment, gave a quiet nod. He knew their next moves would demand every ounce of courage they had, every bit of resourcefulness they had nurtured throughout this ordeal. He stepped forward, drawing the attention of the guards as his friends took their positions. Each child played a role, creating diversions, causing distractions, all while the youngest among them prepared to trigger a small disturbance in the ship's power flow. It was a last-ditch effort, one that hinged on the precise timing and trust they had built throughout their escape. As the lights flickered, the guards faltered, momentarily distracted by the unexpected failure of their technology, a disruption that the aliens, in all their sophistication, were unaccustomed to. Seizing the moment, the children dashed through the exit, their movements a blur of coordinated action. They sprinted across the hangar, a vast and alien landscape that loomed around them, each step taking them closer to the small emergency pods they had identified as their escape route. They had rehearsed this in their minds, knew the sequence of actions they would need to follow to initiate the pods and escape. Every second counted, and they executed each movement with a precision that was almost instinctive, guided by a shared sense of purpose that defied their captors' expectations. In the control room, the alien commander watched in stunned silence. He had underestimated them, dismissed them as mere children, vulnerable and naive. Yet they had displayed a resilience that had outwitted his most advanced security measures, had revealed a side of humanity he had never considered possible. These children had defied his assumptions, turning what he had viewed as their fragility into a weapon that no technology could counter. The realization hit him hard. This was the essence of humanity, a trait that transcended age, a strength that could not be quantified or predicted. The children felt the cold metal beneath their feet as they reached the escape pods, every nerve on high alert. Time was running out, and they knew the momentary disruption of the ship's systems wouldn't hold the alien crew back for long. But their confidence hadn't wavered. Each child moved with the calm resolve that had brought them this far, and now, standing before their escape, they felt a surge of triumph. The oldest boy approached the pod's interface, scanning the strange symbols. Despite their alien nature, he deciphered enough to operate it. There was no hesitation. He pressed the buttons with steady hands, knowing that even a split-second mistake could trap them here for good. As the pod powered up, the others joined him, each child filing into place with the silent understanding that had bound them together throughout this ordeal. They exchanged nods, wordlessly acknowledging how far they had come, how much they had achieved. In their quiet unity lay the strength that had defied all odds. Meanwhile, the alien commander stood before his control screens, observing the children's final act of defiance. His mind raced, battling a mix of disbelief, awe, and a dawning respect he hadn't anticipated. These were not hardened warriors, not experienced soldiers. They were human children. And yet they had unraveled his ship's defenses, exploited its weaknesses, and challenged every assumption he had held about their species. In this moment, he was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth: he had underestimated humanity, fundamentally and irrevocably. As the escape pod began to seal, the commander issued a command to intercept. His crew responded with swift obedience, but he could sense their hesitation, their growing fear. They, too, had witnessed the resilience of these young humans, felt the weight of the defiance that had permeated every step of their escape. The commander knew that he could stop the pod, override the system, and hold them captive once more. Yet, a part of him resisted the thought, a nagging voice that questioned the purpose of this entire exercise. The escape pod's engines ignited, and the ship's systems registered the unauthorized departure. Alarms blared, red lights flashed, and alien officers scrambled, but none dared confront the commander directly. He stood motionless, eyes fixed on the screen, a silent battle raging within him. He had viewed humans as lesser beings, creatures bound by fear and frailty. Yet these children had shown a resilience that defied all logic, a unity that he could not comprehend. They had not relied on brute strength or advanced technology. They had relied on something deeper, something the alien commander had overlooked: their spirit, an unbreakable bond that made them a force beyond his control. He watched as the pod detached from the ship, its path set toward the distant stars. The children, still inside, looked out at the vastness of space, their expressions a mix of relief and quiet pride. They had done it. Against all odds, they had overcome the barriers, faced down an enemy who had believed them weak, and emerged victorious not through violence but through sheer resilience and intelligence. They were exhausted but unbroken, united in a way that went beyond mere survival. Each of them felt it, the realization that they had defied not only their captors but the very limits of what they had believed possible. The alien commander turned away from the screen, his composure visibly shaken. In that moment, he felt a sensation he had never encountered before: respect for a species he had once deemed insignificant. Humans, he realized, were far more than he had imagined. They possessed a strength that transcended their physical limitations, a strength that lay in their capacity to endure, adapt, and rise above even the bleakest of circumstances. He could see now that capturing them, holding them in a cage, had never truly diminished them. If anything, it had only sharpened their resolve, made them more formidable than ever. As the ship's alarms faded into a distant hum, the commander dismissed his officers, signaling an end to the pursuit. He knew, with a certainty that surprised him, that he would never underestimate humanity again. These children, these young captives, had left an indelible mark on his mind. They had transformed his understanding of humanity, revealing a depth of courage and ingenuity he had never considered possible. In their defiance, they had shown him a glimpse of the essence of their species, a strength that could not be contained, a spirit that could not be broken. The crew watched as he stood alone, his expression contemplative, his posture no longer rigid with authority. They sensed a shift, a subtle change in the air, a realization that their leader had seen something extraordinary. In silence, they respected his command, abandoning the chase, understanding that something profound had taken place. Inside the pod, the children finally allowed themselves to relax, the tension that had bound them together loosening just enough for smiles to spread across their faces. The youngest let out a relieved laugh, a sound that echoed in the small space, a reminder that they were still children despite the trials they had endured. They shared a look of mutual pride, a silent celebration of their victory, knowing that they had not only escaped but had achieved something far greater. They had shown their captors the truth of humanity, the strength that lay in their unity, their unwavering courage, and their refusal to be broken. And as the pod drifted into the darkness of space, the children looked back one last time at the alien ship, a distant shape against the stars, knowing they had left an impact, a message written in their actions, a testament to the resilience of their species. They knew that wherever they went next, they would carry this experience with them, a story of survival, of triumph, a reminder of who they were and what they could achieve. In that silent farewell, the alien commander saw a vision of humanity that was neither weak nor primitive. It was a vision of a species capable of facing the unknown with courage, of transforming fear into strength, of defying every expectation. And as he turned away from the sight, he felt a quiet respect for the young humans who had taught him a lesson no amount of training or protocol could ever convey. The pod vanished into the vastness of space, leaving the alien ship in silence. But in the minds of the children, in the heart of the commander, and in the history of the galaxy, the memory of this encounter would endure, a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity.